One.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Tellor community call, August 24th. Should be another really fun one. As you can tell, we keep getting more and more squares, which is always great to see. So first, to kind of give you guys the quick agenda, lots of things to go over today. I'll just do the quick kind of dirty announcements we got going on. Then we're actually going to have a little interview with Sunny and Mike from Ricochet Exchange. They're a user of Tellor over on Polycon. We'll ask them about what they're doing and just some of their experiences in the space. And then we're going to hand it over to Chris, who our intern. This is his last week, so he's presenting kind of some of the stuff he's worked on, and feel free to ask him questions about that. And at some point we'll answer questions. I don't know. Do we have any questions, Ryan? Or 4?
We've got 4 of them, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we can just do that at the end or at the beginning. Doesn't matter. Okay, so quick announcements. Tellor X is coming along. Keep up to date with that on the GitHub. Should be done testing here very, very soon. It's looking really, really pretty. In association with Tellor X, we're going to be revamping Telliot. So we have to build a new miner for the new Tellor smart contracts. Next Tuesday at 10:30, so like an hour and a half before this call, we're doing a public Telliot X brainstorming session. So if you guys want to join that, feel free. We'll also record it and post it on YouTube, so you guys can just watch it if you don't actually want to contribute. But we're going to be looking, hopefully we can get a whole bunch of people developing on Telliot and, competing clients, getting just a really, really robust system going for reporters in the new system. So we're really looking forward to that. Other things, yeah, tomorrow I'll be speaking at ETH New York. It's an online meetup still, unfortunately. But I'll be going over how to use Tellor in a smart contract. I was on their call like 2 months ago and we just chatted, and now they want to see me code. So I'm doing well in the interview process, I think. So yeah, so that'll be really fun. If you guys want to join that, maybe we can send out the link. Ryan, any biz dev updates from you guys?
Yeah, I don't know if Mike mentioned, but we're doing ETH Online next month. So we're just getting all set up for that. Might be another hackathon that we are waiting on confirmation for. So when we get that, we'll announce that. And otherwise, I think mostly just kind of gearing up for Tellor X. We're working on the website. So we're working on the sketching right now, and we're ideally looking to get that up and running before the launch, so we can just hit the ground running there.
Cool. Yeah, no, that's super exciting. So now on to Ricochet. So I'm going to give a preface to how we actually know Ricochet. So MG, he's the little square there that's black and can't speak because his internet's bad apparently. But Mike, we met Mike Genn at what was the conference, Brenda?
I don't remember, but it was in Philly.
It was some conference in Philadelphia that was really an awful conference, but it was.
He was heckling my presentation.
Yeah, Mike was watching Brenda's presentation and wanted to know how he could get involved with Tellor. This was like, I think like a few days after we had launched Tellor originally, and Mike came on as I think he was one of the first 10 miners on Tellor, and he helped out a lot. He ran Tellor Pool for probably 6 months before it was no longer profitable to run Tellor Pool. Yeah, so he's been in our community for a really long time. And then after Tellor Pool kind of faded out, he went and did his own thing, and now we cross paths again. So it's super cool to see how it all worked out. But yeah, he's been around Tellor for a while, and it's great to see he's getting some success with Ricochet. And even to have here somebody working with him, this is Sunny. Sunny, floor is yours for a minute.
Hey guys, just to introduce myself, I'm Sunny. I've been working with Mike on the business side of Ricochet Exchange. We've been working together on Ricochet since we kind of initialized it at the Hack Money hackathon back in March. So long time coming, and we're glad to be finally speaking here with you guys today. So today we're just going to be going over how Ricochet works, play a demo, and then just summarize some future plans.
Sure.
So could I steal the share screen for a sec? Go ahead and do
You
that.
should be good to go now. Yep.
Awesome. So what is Ricochet? Ricochet is a DApp that leverages Superfluid streams and distributions to allow the first non-custodial automated token swapping process in crypto. It's a total game changer for dollar cost averaging. And for those of you who are unfamiliar, DCA, it's basically making constant purchases of an asset on regular intervals, such that you're buying less of it as it rises and more as it falls. This leads to an amplified risk-adjusted returns, especially for volatile assets like crypto, and it also takes a lot of the stress out of investing. So originally DCA was a hassle because in the past in crypto, you're in custody of your assets, and transactions, they can only be triggered either manually by you or by giving up custody of your assets to a smart contract. Using Superfluid, on the other hand, a user can simply authorize a by-the-second stream of value into a smart contract like ours, which can react and do really cool things using Superfluid's real-time finance rails, as opposed to having to fork over all your assets and expect the smart contract to act properly on your behalf. So let's just go down to a visualization here. This is showing the Ricochet stream exchange process for the DAI WETH market. Basically here, it's like where users can stream and DAI and then get WETH dollar cost average back to them. So if you look at the blue arrows, that's Alice and Bob. They're starting a stream of DAI-X, which is basically DAI wrapped Superfluid capabilities into the super app. Every hour, the Ricochet keeper calls a public distribute function for the DAI WETH contract, which takes the accumulated DAI-X, it downgrades it to DAI, and then swaps it to WETH on SushiSwap. This is where the Tellor Oracle is utilized, which hopefully Mike will be able to speak to. If not, I can give a snapshot on that. The WETH is then upgraded to WETH-X and then distributed to Bob and Alice all at once. What's really cool and noticeable about this is that WETH-X actually immediately comes under Alice and Bob's custody. There's no need to claim rewards or do anything like that with what you see in Aave or other protocols that provide incentives. It really just truly distributes the tokens, sends it out. So pretty cool stuff. I'm gonna move on, just play a little tutorial here. Let me know if you guys can hear the audio. I'm gonna run this a little bit. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear it.
No audio.
No audio? Okay.
Trying to think.
You can't just narrate.
The Superfluid config we
Oh, now I got it.
I got great. And then I'm going to refresh the page. Excellent. So the first step to begin dollar cost averaging your DAI into ETH is to upgrade it to DAI-X. DAI-X is a wrapped version, an ERC 777 version of the ERC20 DAI. And basically it allows the Superfluid protocol to stream it by the second. So in order to do that, first I have to approve the wrapped DAI contract, the DAI-X contract, to acquire my DAI. So I'm going to go ahead and hit approve. And confirm. I'm going to let it do its thing. All right, great. So that's confirmed. Now I can upgrade my DAI. I'm going to upgrade 20 DAI. Let's speed this up a little bit. Confirm. And my DAI-X balance should go up after this transaction confirms. Excellent. So that's complete. I now have 30 DAI-X. I'm going to begin a stream of 90 DAI per month. Notice that I can actually begin a stream with a value greater than what's currently in my wallet. It's simply going to run out before the end of the month. But up until I run out of my 30 DAI has been totally streamed into ETH. It'll continue going. And so currently my wallet, it'll just run out before the month is over. So start stream of 90. I'll hit start. Confirm. Let's speed this up for the sake of the video. You're streaming in your DAI. It's not going to be a constant stream of ETH back. It's going to be a periodic distribution, which is distributed hourly. And so I can't demonstrate that immediately. So I'm going to take a break and we're going to revisit this back once the Superfluid, once the Ricochet Keeper has done its distribution and it has distributed the appropriate amount of ETH back to me in accordance with what I have streamed in so far up until that distribution. All right, great. So you can view where that contract, go to the transaction hash. Basically, you can see, every hour we are distributing ETH back to people that are streaming into the contract. And so this creates an hour-by-hour dollar cost average process. So the last distribution has happened 6 minutes ago. And so we're gonna have to wait another 54 minutes for us to see, or another hour for us to see the distribution happen again and the ETH appear in our wallet. Now, currently on the front end, you cannot see the ETH balance to go into the Superfluid dashboard. Skip along. So just going back to what I said earlier, notice how we're streaming 90 per month, but we currently only have 30 DAI in our wallet. That indicates that before the month is up, our balance will hit 0 and the stream will automatically stop. That's how Superfluid works. When you run out of the super token, the DAI X in this case, your stream will automatically stop, which is very nice. So that's when it'll hit 0. And basically, once distribution is triggered, the appropriate amount of ETH will show up in your wallet. So let's say by the time the distribution is triggered, we'll have streamed 50 cents worth of DAI, then 50 cents worth of Ethereum will show up in your Superfluid dashboard here, and in the future we'll be able to show that on the. I'm just going to skip forward to where we can see that. As we can see, we've gotten 18 cents worth of ETH as per the distribution, and as per us getting the proportional amount of ETH equivalent to what we've streamed in. Now, I know it says 18 cents and you've only streamed 13 something cents so far. It's likely. All right, so
Cool.
That's a demo. That's a snapshot. So that's a little kind of demonstration as to how it works.
So why did you build it? What was the dollar cost averaging? Do you actually dollar cost average into crypto?
Yeah, I'm a power user of Ricochet myself. I get paid via Superfluid stream, so I just kind of siphon off a portion of that and just use it to dollar cost average into ETH. I love it so much. It's been definitely an alpha generator for me, and really takes a lot of the stress out of investing. Instead of having to worry about timing the markets, you're just simply constantly buying and buying and buying, and you don't have to worry about entrance points, exits, all that stuff. It makes it really easy.
Nice. And how's been working with Polygon? You're one of the first people who we know to actually be on an L2, and is it good?
Yeah, I mean, first off, Superfluid's only active on Polygon and the X sidechain, so it's not like we had a choice. But at the same time, it's very nice for us as Keeper to, when we're triggering the distribute function, We only have to pay our gas fees in Matic. Yeah, so we're also looking to be like a bigger kind of we're one of the most cutting edge kind of like protocols on the Matic DeFi ecosystem. So we're looking to kind of you know, raise awareness in that kind of DeFi community on Polygon.
Yeah, I mean, so I used Ricochet and it was super annoying to get my DAI, you know, to go buy DAI on Uniswap, then transfer it over there and then convert it to DAI X. And that was like a giant pain. But once you actually got it all done, it was like, once you got like the intermediate steps and you had all the prerequisites done, it was really nice.
Yeah, if you have funds on Polygon, you know, using Ricochet is super easy. So very nice stuff.
Cool. And yeah, so what are so for those that don't know, you guys have a token, right? What does it do? And then what's kind of the next plans for you guys?
Yeah, the RIC token, it's a governance token. It allows you know, community members, holders to basically vote on different initiatives that we have coming up. One a good example of that would be, you know, new streaming exchange markets. So should we deploy one for sushi? Should we deploy one for AFA? You know, RIC token holders can, you know, vote on those sorts of initiatives, partnerships, all that kind of stuff. You know, that's the power of the RIC token. Speaking of the RIC token, we did have a liquidity mining program earlier this month for the RIC token, where basically we distributed 1% to streamers who are using our streaming exchange markets. They were rewarded proportionally with RIC token. So we're also going to be having, just a little sneak peek, we're also going to be having, we're going to be launching our USDC to wrap Bitcoin and our USDC to ETH markets on Friday, 5 p.m. this week. So once those launch, we'll be kicking off liquidity mine again with another 1% of our RIC token supply. So for people who didn't get the chance to stream in and earn RIC during the last liquidity mining period, you're going to get another chance this Friday at 5 starting on. So good stuff.
You guys heard it here first, guys. Go stream,
alpha.
go stream, get some RIC
Alpha
token. No, cool. Well, thanks for telling your Oracle, by the way, too. We'll make sure that WBTC Oracle is up and polished for you guys. Yeah, no, I know Mike had asked for it a few weeks ago, so it should be good. But yeah, super cool. And then what's the next big plan? What are you guys gonna do? What, on main chain ETH, or just follow Superfluid, get them over there?
Yeah, I mean, that's really up to Superfluid, right? They run the show. We just use their protocol. So, you know, when they do have, I guess they do have some kind of plans to move over to mainnet, but I don't think it's like very close in their pipeline. But yeah, once they do, 100%, we'll deploy over there. So.
And then any plans to like securitize these streams? So like
securitize, as
so
in like
you could like tokenize them and then sell them off to people.
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole nother kind of application of Superfluid. It's you know, cash flow NFTs and like tying up different token flow, different Superfluid streams to holders of that NFT. That's actually a whole nother project that I'm working on called Drip Finance. So just follow on Twitter, drip_fi. Basically, it's like, you know, using sign up streams to affiliate marketers and like, you know, allowing you to transfer around your affiliate business and according like cash flows. One other thing, but you know, it doesn't really apply to Drip, but you know, it is a possibility with Superfluid, which I find really cool. So yeah.
Yeah. So go drip your RIC on Polygon. And
yeah,
it'll be.
Did I say it doesn't really apply to Drip? I mean, it doesn't really apply to Ricochet.
Yeah. Okay. Well, they're all sort of related. It's super cool to see what you guys are doing. I'm excited for it. So
thank you. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. One last thing that I think is kind of cool is that as I noticed, like dollar cost averaging is super like retail investor oriented, which I think is really cool. Even to note that like I know like Coinbase offers a service for it, right? So there's like a pretty big like even like entry level crypto audience for it, which I think is cool. So
yeah,
like
yeah, that's definitely something that we're working towards on the UI UX side. Making it super user friendly. I know there are some services out there like Dharma that like allow you to get your funds from fiat to Polygon really quickly. So be a good integration there. And yeah, in terms of like, you Coinbase, I think their like DCA is done like monthly or something or weekly. We do it hourly, which is huge alpha because when he takes those quick swings down and up, you're kind of really able to catch onto those dips and capitalize on them with hourly DCA. And yeah, also the funds are lower. Our fees are lower. They hover around 3%. I think Coinbase is around 4%, which is nice as well. So cool stuff.
Super cool. Any other questions, guys? No, well, thanks for coming, Sonny. You please stay for Chris's presentation too, but and then we'll also be Tally and somebody else, I think maybe on your community call tomorrow. So we'll be talking about Tellor over there. So happy we can sort of merge communities here. It'll be fun.
Absolutely, really appreciate it. We've been loving our partnership here with Tellor. It's been awesome, and yeah,
Cool.
thank you so much for giving us a chance to share.
Yeah, thanks, guys. And then we'll drop links too. So send me those if you haven't already.
Okay, for sure.
All right. So yeah, that was Ricochet. Hopefully that was fun for you guys. Now on to Chris. Chris was the intern with us all summer. He's wrapping up this week and he's heading off to the big city out in San Francisco. He's going to Stanford. So he'll be gone, but hopefully he'll still be a part of our community. But we wanted to give him just a little place. We gave him a bunch of really cool projects and he's going to tell you guys about them. So Chris, floor is yours.
Yeah, sure. Ryan, I can share my screen, right? So, yeah, there it is. Okay. Hopefully everyone can see that. All right. Yeah. Okay. I think Nick already gave a good introduction, but yeah, I'm Chris. I've been an intern here at Tellor for the last 10 weeks. And so I'll just be going through a super casual, super simple kind of list of reflections and takeaways I had from the last 2.5 months of building. And again, I think it's really going to be less of like a technical deep dive and more of kind of just a reflection on just my learning process through the Tellor experience and kind of how I think I want to stay involved with the community as I move forward. So I think as with any reflection, it's always good to really start right at the beginning. And this is, again, a lot of brutal honesty, but a lot of my technical experience at the beginning was much more data science research heavy, as I would talk to Nick about. In the past, I did a lot of like histopathological machine learning research. And I've done a bit of like web development stuff, but it had been more teetering on the side of like, side projects and open source clubs. But in terms of like Web3 and blockchain development in the world of crypto, I was really super new. And I would even have considered a lot of the words like, decentralization or DeFi to be almost buzzwords as compared to anything that I thought had a lot of pertinence in what I was working on. And so I think that it was really interesting because with this sort of background, I felt like the best place to start wasn't necessarily with diving right deep into like, something like Solidity development, but instead kind of tinkering around and interacting with the blockchain, which was kind of the most important thing that I think I started off with. So, I went through the typical training program, perusing through a lot of documentation on developing on the blockchain, but a lot of what I started off with was really just interacting with these smart contracts through mediums that I was already familiar with. So for example, a couple of weeks ago, I gave a talk on that report where I compared different oracles, right? So looking at the differences between Tellor, Chainlink, and the band protocol, and for example, looking at historical price feed data, looking at the amount of time it took for them to update each of their values, and then thinking about that correlation with respect to other types of, with the differences and fluctuations with gas prices. And I think that ultimately the biggest takeaway I had was that I really just became really grounded and aware of what the Oracle problem was, since again, that was still something that was super new to me, and gained a lot of awareness about our competitors and kind of our position in the space. And I think from a more technical perspective, I was even able to learn how to interact with a lot of these smart contracts using a framework like Web3 Pi, and even also apply a lot of my knowledge to kind of work with concepts like ABIs and gas. And so I thought it was a great way of really being able to understand how to use a lot of what I'd done before and kind of explore a little bit about oracles. And a similar project that was adjacent but dealt a little bit more with web development was the fellowship scan, which is in a simple way to put it, Tellor Scan, but for the Fellowship and Mesosphere smart contracts. So it was a lot of the same process, but I'd say that when I think back on the experience, it also showed me a lot about the internal structure of the Tellor Oracle and kind of what more technically grounded it, as well as, of course, again, it's different when you're looking at something that's more data driven to something that's much more about kind of, user experience, user interaction heavy. And so I think I was able to get a better understanding of really what good design practices were for Web3 dApps, as well as how to interact with different chains like Polygon. So this was kind of where I started off with, was really just taking what I'd learned before and using that to kind of delve a little bit slowly into the world of blockchain. From there, I was able to advance into really working and developing on the blockchain itself. But even then, I think a lot of what I started off with was really just working on things like documentation. I feel like this could be a little bit of a boring slide, but I promise it has a little bit of a reason later on. But I remember when I was talking with Nick about just being able to work on some of the Tellor projects, I realized that there were a couple of things that we could update with our sample using Tellor project. So for example, just transitioning it from a more truffle heavy to a more hard hat development suite project, and then also being able to ensure that users could actually use like Tellor Playground in order to be able to test their projects within hard hat. And so I think it was really good because one of the things that I found out is that it was really nice for me to have a lot of that beginner experience, both in terms of Solidity development as well as DeFi, because I felt like I could offer a very fresh perspective on, hey, like here's how Tellor could be seamlessly integrated into other smart contract projects. And so I think that was a really good way for me to kind of be involved in the community, because I could kind of be, not everyone is going to be some like, hotshot who has like $10 million in funding. Some people are just starting out and are trying to utilize Tellor for the first time. And so I think I was able to give a good experience on that. And then in terms of other documentation as well, a lot of what I've been working on in kind of the last couple of days has been just, working alongside TellorX. And I'm not going to inflate my role of being a part of the dev team for TellorX, but a lot of it has been kind of coordinating, especially with Tally, on just updating a lot of documentation and, making sure that we refine a lot of our, error statements, testing, and even just finding a lot of optimizations within the code. I think the biggest thing that I took, because TellorX and the white paper, I think, came out just as I was starting my internship, was I think it was really cool to see my evolution in going from, knowing nothing to learning at least a little bit of things about the crypto space, but also being able to kind of match an outline and a design for a governance and economic system and putting that to smart contract code. I think that a lot of the reasons why I wanted to venture into crypto was because I kind of had a budding interest for the computational social sciences as I grew up throughout my freshman year of college. And I think that being able to work on something like TellorX and of course Solidity development in general was really helpful in being able to kind of see the interdisciplinary approach that it takes to really build both good governance systems as well as good smart contract code. So I was really happy to work on that. And then, of course, outside of a lot of that documentation, I was finally able to build a lot of projects. And so, again, I promised that I wouldn't do a deep dive, but at the end, I'll give a couple of GitHub URLs if you guys are interested in seeing a lot of the work. And then in the developers chat, I also posted like a couple of like, LaTeX formatted like light papers, as I would like to call it, in terms of a lot of the technological considerations I had to make. But I was eventually able to level up to Solidity development and actually focused a lot on projects that were available in the Tellor Bounties page. And a lot of them revolved around Oracle designs. So for example, one of the projects that I worked on was a Uniswap fallback Oracle, which uses Uniswap liquidity pools to fetch price data. For example, if you want the price data for ETH to USDC, and then falls back to Tellor depending on criteria like data freshness, or if the value is within a certain threshold, or the amount of liquidity within a pool. And so I think that a lot of the experience that I'd had interacting with other protocols helped me here, because I definitely had to persevere a little bit in order to be able to get all of these moving parts together. But I think it was also a really good first kind of venture into being able to apply a lot of my knowledge of Solidity, and also understanding how to kind of follow a very rigorous process checklist and make sure that I was able to look around all of the edge cases. one of the more recent projects that I worked on was a push oracle, which implemented this EIP 1154 standard proposed by Alan Liu to turn Tellor from a pull oracle into one with a push mechanism, which is essentially an oracle that pushes data into a user smart contract rather than having the user call an external function. So of course, again, a lot of it is being able to take a spec and turning that into code. But I think this was also one of the first times where I was able to independently make and kind of weigh out a lot of the decisions and economic incentives that were a part of the contract. So for example, how would the user compensate the oracle for being able to retrieve the data? How would the gas be compensated? Who would have to pay for the gas? And even, I remember even a couple of weeks ago, I was in a Discord conversation with Crossy in the developers channel, just talking about what were the benefits and drawbacks of actual push versus pull oracle designs, and are these actually practical designs in production? And so I think it was really interesting, again, to kind of go from being able to just interact to now going to basic solidity, and then even being able to make my own decisions in terms of what the best economic incentives were. So I think going into the future, a lot of what I want to work on, again, I'm going back to college in the fall, but I think for me, I want to stay involved with the developer community, and I really want to help it grow. I think that one part of it is, being able to help prospective users and people who want to integrate Tellor. So for example, the great people over at Ricochet, but even being able to think about working on bounties or using Tellor in hackathons. I think that one of the most important things to note about the bounties page, and shout out also to Josh for a great job on that, is being able to actually have a lot of different solutions to the same bounty, right? It's very rare that a bounty has just a one size fits all solution. And it would honestly be really cool to see a lot of people's approaches. For example, for the Uniswap fallback oracle, how did you determine the levers or the criteria for when you would fall back to Tellor? Or for something like the push oracle, right? Like, how are you able to determine your economic incentives for making sure that the right contract paid the right amount of gas? I think it's really cool because being able to have those discussions just really helps grow the protocol and grows the developer community, I think, which I think would be a great role for me to fit in, since I was definitely a beginner coming in, and I'd love to kind of pay it forward in a way, even though I'm still very much scratching the surface of my knowledge of crypto. But yeah, in terms of just some general takeaways, I'll try to kind of keep it succinct, but from a higher level, I think that understanding a lot more about the implications and the applications of crypto and DeFi were something that I took a lot from. But even outside of that, just understanding a lot of the technical limitations associated with the blockchain. I think that was something that was pertinent to me because, again, I came from a machine learning background. And even though I had a lot of research advisors who would kind of preach about how to address a lot of dealing with constraints, sometimes I feel like it's still very people think that the technology can do just about everything when there are a lot of limitations associated with it. So I think it was good to both kind of keep my expectations in what the industry is able to do very much grounded in rationality, but also be able to I feel like constraints are one of the things that can really bring out a lot of unique solutions. And I think being around the devs has shown me that there are a lot of ways to kind of work around things, even though they might seem like obstacles at the beginning. I think from a more personal environment, I think thinking about things like having autonomy with support and how that's led to growth. I think one of the reasons Tellor has been one of the best experiences in terms of work that I've had is because I've had a lot of ownership over projects, but I also don't think I've ever had to kind of venture into the deep end alone. I still remember one of my earlier on work experiences where I just finished multivariable calculus, and I was given a 600-page textbook on deep learning and was told to read through it all before I could proceed. So definitely not the right way, I think, to approach things. And I was glad that I was able to still kind of work slowly and still at a good pace while still being able to ping tally if I ever had a question on best code practices or comments. Another thing too is I think just working in a startup environment, and I think that the biggest thing for there is just being able, I think, to both push things into production that people can use, and also just being able to see lenses from other sides. It was still kind of cool yesterday, being able to work on my code and then hearing Spuddy in a biz dev call talking about the considerations they have to make on how to connect the tech with the actual development. So I think I was able to get a much more well-rounded view of what was going on there. And then I think to last kind of end things off, just thinking about building with integrity and making sure that, the technology that we build is really adhering and kind of fulfilling the promises that it promises to make, I think is another big thing that I learned throughout my time. And even just the importance of kind of having a strong team and community, because I'll definitely say after like a year and a half of Zoom University, just being completely online is like really boring. So it's definitely not something that is optimal for anyone. But yeah, I wanted to keep it short and sweet. And so that was pretty much all I had. But again, I intend to keep myself involved here in the developer community. My Discord should still be online. You'll probably see like all the bad music that I listen to on Spotify. But feel free to look at my GitHub too, because it'll have all the work I've done for Tellor over the summer, and then other work that I've done in the past. And then you can check out all the other projects at the URLs there. But yeah, that's pretty much my experience right there. So thank you again for the opportunity. And I'm glad I was able to have these 10 weeks here at Tellor. So yeah.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Chris. You've done a really, really great job. And you're always welcome to come back, by the way.
Yeah, you're like chronic overachiever, man. Like I literally just said, Chris, can you like show us what you worked on? And he made a phenomenal presentation for 20 minutes. That was awesome, Chris. Yeah, no, great job. We've loved having you. You knocked out some really good stuff, and we're going to follow up to make sure that whenever you're running Google or something like that, you're still working with Tellor. So but yeah, anybody, if you're watching the call, interested in one of Chris's projects, or now it's sort of the next hard part of all these projects once Chris helps build them, is to get people to use them to make sure that we can move forward with them and continue development. But it's been really great having you. So anything for Chris, guys?
Chris,
No.
can I ask you for help? If I'm doing like coding sometime, can I like send you questions that I don't want to ask Nick? Is that okay?
Yeah, sure. That's fine. You might have to schedule office hours, but I'm just kidding. I think everything will be fine.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, I'll schedule. That's fine.
All right.
Cool. All right. Yeah, well, thanks, Chris. Ryan, you want to bring up, I think we have a few questions.
Let's do it.
Okay, and then we'll hop off.
Question number 1, when will Tellor X be activated with extraction in order and beyond the power of the Tellor market? In terms of price and growth, it is far behind, and many investors, including myself, sold 400 out of 500 Tellor pieces.
I'm kind of confused by the question, but I think Tellor X is planning to go live end of October, November.
That was the question. I think there was just a little bit more airing out going on there. Okay, why don't you market your product better? I think, yeah, I mean, this is definitely something we were working on. This is why we brought Sean on. I don't know, Sean, do you want to chime in there a little bit?
Sure.
Talk about our
was the
planning
question,
there.
how do we market better?
Yeah,
I
I think they're just complaining, like it's people want to see marketing. I don't know, Sunny, maybe you want to chime in on this one too. Like, how have you guys found marketing going in the space? Like it's, everybody wants something different. It's always, it's hard to find like to be a good tech project and market, right?
Yeah, and we're building a lot. The plans are coming together quite well. Just to have an overall, really thoughtful presence. Again, we don't want to do the short-term stuff, but it's definitely coming together. But yeah, Sunny, if you have any other thoughts.
Yeah, just from a third-party perspective, Tellor really strikes me as like very community-based marketing. You guys are always pushing community. So that's kind of the message I've been getting across pretty clearly, and I think that's a good kind of focus in your marketing plan.
Cool. I mean, yeah, I don't know how you guys are doing it, but it's always, we'd come up with marketing plans and they've changed and they've merged, and it's been so weird kind of developing that. But yeah, hopefully we're doing okay. Ryan.
Question number 3. Coinbase does rewards where people earn money by doing lessons and quizzes about the coin or project. Will Tellor consider doing something like this, even if it's $3 on Coinbase?
No. Those campaigns are, I don't know if we're allowed to say how expensive they are, but they're expensive. They're like more money than the team has expensive. So yeah, probably not an option.
In terms of regulation, where do you see yourselves when they kick in? Ideally, an answer from the guys who have worked with regulations prior would be best.
Oh, I think that's like me. But no, like, it's always weird, like when regulations kick in, like the regulations, they're sort of are kicked in, most of them, like they apply now, like whether or not they're actually enforcing it right now, like they will enforce it. So any of this stuff, we're trying to make, we're trying to decentralize ourselves. We think that, from just a general, it makes sense in crypto standpoint and what we're building. It, if we're actually going to change things and make the world a better place, we want to be decentralized. But also from a regulatory perspective, decentralizing yourself is the best way to go. And the more that we push to do that, the better we're going to be. And yeah, I mean, there's never like a for sure we're in the clear forever, and no regulator's ever going to make do some stupid law that makes crypto illegal. But I honestly think the regulators are going to make some smart choices and crack down on scams and fraud, and they'll probably make centralized exchanges register. But that doesn't necessarily touch us per se. So yeah, I mean, I think we're going to be just fine. And same with most of these guys. Like just do things in an honest way. Try not to scam people or dump coins. And the regulators so far have been relatively understanding. So cool.
That's it. One thing, we have officially moved over to Discord now. So if you haven't made the move, come on over. The water is perfect.
Yeah. So anyway, thanks everyone. Talk to you guys next week. See you.